Mark here again, cooking books, bringing info. Been doing some research, and I just want to share some information really quick. So I've been doing a lot of research on nature versus nurture because I'm writing a book, and that's the title of my book, Nature versus Nurture. So I'm doing a tremendous amount of extensive research, scrutinizing, examining, testing theories, just doing my due diligence, right? Because I want to debunk any kind of myths out there of genetic inferiority and genetic superiority, right? That's the purpose of me writing this book that I'm working on. And my book, I'm going to take my time. I'm not in any rush, right? I'm doing a lot of research. Like I said, I want to make sure I get this thing right, build a very cogent, consistent, and coherent argument in defense of my position on this debate or on this argument of nature versus nurture. I'm pro nurture, not to the exclusion of nature, because I do believe nature does play a part, but I'm more so pro nurture as opposed to nature. And here's why: Jim Crow, segregation, apartheid, Nazi Germany, uh, slavery, most common. All of these ideologies, white supremacy, inferiority, superiority, has their all these ideologies are birthed or they have their inception in what's called eugenics, and eugenics has its inception in from Francis Galton, who's the cousin of Charles Darwin, and we know Darwin has evolution, natural selection, selective breeding, uh, selective pressures, all these various theories on populations, right? So I'm doing my own research. Like I said, though, it's very dangerous. A very dangerous idea to believe that nature, your nature, is what determine the type of person you're going to be. I think it's a very dangerous school of thought because again, out of that we got white supremacy, we got uh, again Nazi Germany, we got slavery, Jim Crow, we got all of that. All of that has its inception in uh, genetic superiority and genetic inferiority. And I'm right, like I said, I'm doing a thorough research, and I'm going to write a book on it. I'm writing my book on this. I'm actually working on my project now. But I just want to share this video with you guys because the purpose of my book is to debunk any kind of uh, any wind of belief that is taking root or that is out there, which clearly is, any belief that a person is genetically inferior. A person is genetically inferior, biologically predisposed to be a criminal. Right? These are the ideas that are responsible for policies that are put in place. Right? Whether it was Brown versus Board of Ed. Brown versus Board of Ed is a famous court case that has its inception, right? Or it's not blatant, it's not obvious, but if you research Brown versus Board of Ed, and if you really research it with a microscopic intellect, right, where you get down to the minutiae and you get behind policy, you'll find out that all of this stuff comes from eugenics, right? Margaret Sanger, Planned Parenthood, uh, uh, abortion, all of it has its inception in eugenics, where they believe that to improve the population, we have to selectively breed those who are considered the superior, those who have the superior gene. We have to selectively breed, and we have to selectively breed those who have the superior gene, and then we have to exclude or prevent those who have the inferior gene from procreating, from breeding. And there's so many court cases that we can research and find. I've done some, like I said, I'm here doing my research now, and these are some of the things I'm going. But it's a very dangerous idea to put forth out there that there is such thing as an inferior gene when science has proven, countless research and studies have proven that scientists have found that the human genome, which is a collection of all your genetic data, is 99.9% identical. I'll say it again. The human genome, which is a collection of all your genetic information, all your chromosomes, is 99.9% the same, identical. And this is ecumenical, universal, meaning someone in India and someone in China, their cells, within their cells, their genome is 99.9% the same. Okay, that's as close as you can get to 100%. So so if there's countless research that's like nothing really new. Like if you just research Google, you could do a quick Google search and you'll find that. Just so there's so much information that supports that our DNA are 90 universally the same, right? But yet, like I said, if you study the Darwins, the Galtons, the Sangers. You study these people, and these are a few of they're called eugenicists. They believe in eugenics, which again is it's a school of thought of a dominant gene and not a dominant, a superior, excuse me, a superior gene and an inferior gene. I don't want to say dominant because there is a dominant and a recessive, right? That's proven. That's proven, right? There's proven that there's dominant and recessive genes. That's normal. That's part of genetics. But what's not normal, what's not proven is that there's a superior gene and an inferior gene. That's ideology. That's ideology. That's philosophy. There's no scientific data that actually supports that. To the contrary, there's data that supports that all genes, all your genome, all your genetic information within each cell is 99.9% the same. And I just want to put that out there. And I'm doing a research and I'm writing a book where I'm going to give more evidence to this, substantiate this, give more details, go into more minutiae uh, and details and so on and so forth. Uh, but again, I just want to share this video because, you know, there I am a proponent, and in my book, I'm going to make the arguments for both sides, and I'm going to put down what side I fall on. I fall on the nurturing. I fall on nurturing 100%. Uh, on nurturing. No, well, 95% on nurturing. I'm almost 100%. I say almost because I might be 100% because I'm thinking of, okay, there's mutation, right? But genetic mutation or genetic deformity or any kind of handicap that would not count, right? I'm talking about all things being equal. Yes, all things being equal, I guess I'm 100% nurture. All things being equal, I am 100% nurture. Yeah, I think that's safe. It's very safe. I can say that, and I could defend that, right? I'm careful with how I say things because things can be used back at you. You can trap yourself, and you never want to commit to one side completely because the world is way more complex than that. But I would say, with the exception of mutation, any kind of deformities or whatever, I would say, yeah, I'm 100% in nurture because I could hear someone saying, well, what about an animal, a lion, a tiger? I mean, are they not like, their aggression, right? Is it not in their genes? Is it not genetics that makes a lion, that makes a tiger a tiger? Is it the environment? Isn't just a lion naturally a lion, right? And I would say absolutely, absolutely, because all species that enter the earth are wild at birth. A baby doesn't know how to ask for food, right? A baby doesn't know how to intelligently communicate to you that it's hungry or it wet its diaper or it wants to sleep. No, it's purely instinctive and impulsive, right? Visceral communication. It's called visceral or primitive communication. So, yeah, a lion, is it in the, is the lion biologically predisposed to be a lion? Oh, absolutely. I would say yes. Then one would say, well, is a criminal biologically predisposed to be a criminal? Is a obtuse, dull, not quick-witted or sharp-minded person uh, biologically predisposed to be a dunce, an idiot? I would say no. Well, why? If the lion is predisposed to be a lion, then the criminal Why? Consistent, it could be logically argued that the criminal is predisposed to be a criminal. It's in his DNA, it's in his gene. And that's the dangerous argument that a lot of the singers, a lot of the supremacists, right, the European supremacists, that's the argument they use and make to justify Brown versus Board, to justify separate but equal, to justify slavery, to justify, you know, genocide, right? The killing of an entire group, right? So, ethnic group or whatever, right? So one could say that, right? And then I would look like I'm actually contradicting myself, but I would say no, I'm not, because the lion is genetically predisposed to be a lion because of what? Its environment, right? It's the lion's father and mother, right? Because you got to remember, the lion inherits its traits from the parents, and the parents inherit from parents. The lion has always been an undomesticated wild animal, right? You have wild and you have domesticated animals. So an animal that is uh, birthed in the wild, reared in the wild, is naturally going to be wild. So if you do the ancestral lineage, if you do the genealogical lineage, you look at the genes, you say, well, the lion has always been in the jungle. So it is natural that it's going to be untamed and it's going to be wild. So it is genetic. Yes, it is genetically predisposed to be that way. So then the argument would be, well, what if a person has always been in the projects, right? Has always been in his forefathers, his parents have always been engaged in criminal activities. Is he not still? Is it not in his DNA to be a criminal? No, no. Criminality is a behavior, right? Is a behavior that is learned. Uh, John Locke, I like John Locke, a philosopher, 17th century philosopher. He said something very interesting. He said, it's called tabula rasa. Tabula rasa is a Latin term which means blank slate. He says all babies are born with a blank mind, a blank slate, and children are born morally neutral. And it is their surrounding, their parents, their surrounding that will imprint ideas, beliefs, and on the personality of the child. And I love that. That falls into nurture, right? The environment. So the difference between the example I just gave, the lion and the human, right? A lion, its entire genealogy, its entire family, its ancestors, right? All have been in the jungle, therefore it is ingrained in the DNA of that lion to be a lion. That is true. Then the argument is, well, if a criminal, his grandfather, father, everybody's been criminals, shouldn't it be in his DNA that he'd be a criminal? I could hear one making that argument, but no. Why? Because unlike the lion and the human, you got to understand, lion, the animal is purely instinctive and impulsive. Right? That's it. A lion can only be instinctive and impulsive, whereas a human being has what's called reason. Right? We have a part of the brain that is activated, that which is the neocortex, which is the ability to be rational, to be reasonable, to think, to be logical. Lions don't have that. It's purely instinctive and impulsive. They are governed strictly by their instincts, their desires. That's what separates the animal from the human. Because we do both belong to the animal kingdom, but we have an ability, which is a part of the brain, the frontal and the neocortex, right? Which is the ability to be and to be able to, uh, to ascend to divinity. Right now, I don't want to get into God and all that, but that's the difference, right? We have a part of our brain that differs from the actual animals, is that our brain have the prefrontal cortex, which is a part of the brain that allows us to reach into other dimensions, other realms, and actually have higher thoughts. Lions, tigers, and bears don't. Their thoughts are relegated to instincts and impulse. I'm hungry, I eat. Predator, prey. It's that simple. So that's the distinction. That's why I would say no. A person whose grandfather was a criminal, his father was a criminal, his father was doesn't necessarily mean this child is going to. Now, the odds are in favor that he will be a criminal, not because he's genetically predisposed, but because, again, uh, nurture, the environment. He is more likely to be a criminal because he's going to be born into the environment of criminal activities. And as John Locke famously said, we're born as blank slates. The person, the individuals that surrounds the child will imprint on the child's personality, ideas, beliefs, etc., etc. So yes, if you're born in criminal criminally engaged, active family, then yes, the odds and the chances of you becoming that are greater. Does not necessarily mean, though, that you are genetically programmed that way. You see the distinction? It doesn't mean you have a criminal gene, as they would want you to believe, because this is what they would want you to believe. You have a criminal gene. You have an unintelligent gene. You have a thieving gene. No, there's no such thing. That's nonsense. But if you're not intelligent, you would believe this, right? Because this is what they want you to believe. Brown versus Board of Ed. Look, all these black kids that keep failing their classes, they have a dumb gene. You understand what I'm saying? So it's nonsense. So the point is that there is no, again, you can research the stuff. All there's science that proves that all of the DNA within cells are universally the same, 99.9% the same. Uh, it, it, what makes one child seem to advance smart more than the other in terms of education or educational prowess is the environment. And again, Brown versus Board of Ed. Go study, go research that. Okay. Now, there are other elements too. Don't get me wrong. There are other elements that are involved. It's a very complex and dense conversation. I'm giving you a very generalized, brief synopsis, but there's more to it. But generally, it's the environment that determines whether you succeed, you fail, you succeed. Generally speaking, it is the environment, uh, based off the scientific empirical data that proves that within the cells of every species, generally speaking, not every species, every human species, generally our DNA are identical, 99.9% the same. That is a really good information to understand, because if you can get that and let that really sink in, any inferiority that you may feel as a result of your skin color, the ethnic group that you belong to, your ethnicity, your background, where you come from, you know, whether you're born into poverty, your status in this world, whether you're born into wealth, affluence, it debunks all of that. If you can let that sink in, 99.9% of all of our DNA are pretty much identical. If you can let that sink in, all the myth and the illusion and the illusory beliefs that he's better than me because he was born on this side of the tracks and I'm born on that side of the tracks, it's all it would all be debunked in one fell swoop with this information, right? The difference is obviously if you're born on that side of the tracks, you're going to have more resources. You're going to have more access. If I'm born on this side of the track where it's more poverty, then obviously you're going to have better chances than I am. So, someone born on the right side of the tracks will have better opportunities than someone born on the wrong side of the tracks. But it does not, and I gotta beat this drum. There is no such thing as a superior and an inferior gene, as they would want you to believe. Okay, uh, uh, we could talk about natural selection. That right there, people would say natural selection does choose a superior gene. No, it doesn't. Natural selection chooses a species that is best suited for the environment for the reproduction of the population. But that's another conversation. We'll talk about that another time. Till next time, y'all know how to do cookbooks. Peace. If you like the video, you know what to do. Hit a like, share it, leave a comment too. All right, encourage me. Peace.